Well, the plows have turned the dirt over for the winter, and the gardening and farming season is pretty much over in Utah, but that doesn't mean it's not on people's minds. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth, and urban farming is our topic today. We've got a great all-star panel lined up, and let's meet them now. Jed Christensen, from the Marketing Director for the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food. Julie Peck-Dabling, who is the Open Space and Urban Farming Program Director for Salt Lake County, and Jim Bradley, who is a member of the Salt Lake County Council. Thank you for joining us. Tell us about the trend about farming coming back to urban areas.
Several reasons for the trend. One is on the immediate level is people's desire, the more they learn about healthy lifestyles and what are good foods to eat and bad foods, they tune in and they realize that homegrown food, either in their backyard or down the street at some farmer's market, they can get locally grown produce, that's good for them and it tastes better. And so I think there's a general psychology of people saying, you know, I want a healthier lifestyle, and they go for it. Secondly, there's been promotion by a number of people and on the national level, and that's how I got interested in this. In 2008, I was reading the New York Magazine, and this guy named Michael Pollan, who I'd never heard of, was talking about the need for food security. And it was during the primary elections between McCain and Obama, and he said, one of these people is going to be the next president of the United States. We all know they're commander-in-chief, but they're also farmer-in-chief. And they need to set farming policies that address the issue of food security. You can live without a gallon of gasoline. You can't live without food. And food security is a major issue. And so he morphed this into a long essay on different things. But one of the things that he said was municipalities like Salt Lake County or cities within the county ought to look at space they're not using and maybe put that space to a beneficial use and allow farmers, urban farmers who know what they're doing, to come in and grow produce close to home. And named a number of reasons, which I won't get into now, but one is the carbon footprint of transporting food 500 miles from California to here versus, you know, a couple blocks down the street or a mile or so. But anyway, a long story short is, it got me thinking. I said, God, Salt Lake County, we land bank land all the time that we don't put into use but are saving for future use or open space needs or things like that. So I had our recreation people, who are the largest landowners within the county, or the people who control the largest land. I said, how much land do we have out there that we're not using? They came back with several hundred acres. And I said, boy, so I immediately went to people who knew what they were talking about. Our friends at Utah State University are very skilled in this. Julie was involved in open space for the county already. She had a good assessment of what was out there. And I said, hey, let's go with this. Let's see if there's any interest. And we held an open house, and I'll be darned if people didn't come and say we're interested. Farmers, average citizens, the works.
We went out and did some investigation, and as Jim said, we talked with Utah State and others, and we had this open house where farmers could come and talk to us about what they would want, what they would be looking for if they were to lease land. And so we took that input, and we went ahead and put together a bid packet and said anyone can propose to lease these lands if they're interested. And so that is one component of the program, and it's worked out really well.
So, you know, Jim, you were talking about a smaller carbon footprint. So there's a carbon footprint involved in urban farming, but isn't there also a sugar footprint as far as naturally developing sugars?
Absolutely. And there's something about the produce and the fruit that is grown here in Utah that it's as good as any you'll find in the world. The farmers and ranchers up along Fruit Way near Box Elder County, they talk about how the air builds up against the mountain. We have those hot, dry days and cool, crisp nights, dew-filled mornings, whatever it is, but we have very sweet and great tasting produce.
Can you bring it down to 2 or 3 acres and make it profitable?
Yes, you can. It's interesting that the average size farm in Utah is over 670 acres. But that's traditional farming of large tracts of alfalfa and corn and so on. But these smaller tracts, when you raise vegetables, high intensity rotational crops, you can raise a lot of valuable produce on a small acreage.
Do you go through several plantings a season? You know, you have an early crop, a mid crop, a late crop.
Yeah, absolutely. And the farmers that I've worked with and talked to, not only on county land but within the county, are using hoop houses, which are kind of like a portable greenhouse, and so that's a season extender. So they'll have that, and they can plant on the early end, and then they can keep growing late into the fall, and still provide fruits and vegetables to the people in the valley.
Would people be surprised where urban farming is taking place?
I think people would be surprised and are probably surprised. Julie will give you an inventory of some of the fun places, but the one that comes to mind to me right now, the county owns a big parcel of land behind our recreation center, the Lions Club Recreation Center out on Murray Holiday Road. And Taggy has several acres, grows some great cantaloupe.
And Taggy, obviously, Jed, you introduced us him with the show we did on Utah's Own.
Yes.
Are there other farmers like him that are?
Absolutely. Thane Taggy is a Utah's Own member. We have several others. We're seeing people, and it's a response to the demand of the food. People desire to know where their food comes from, and as Jim indicated, the fresh food, they want it local, reducing their carbon footprint. So that demand has driven the need for farmers to get involved. We've seen farmers that were more in the traditional production that have converted several acres. We see the families down in Utah County and up in West Weber that are now producing sweet corn instead of wheat, and cucumbers and all kinds of fresh lettuce and vegetables to meet the demand. There's been a tremendous demand created. If you go back 9 years, we only had 7 farmers markets in the entire state of Utah. This last summer there were 45. And their biggest challenge is to find farmers to be at those farmers markets to provide the fresh fruits and vegetables.
Is farmers markets the primary outlet for them to sell their stuff, or the roadside stands? Is that it?
Well, I'd say they have the farmers markets, they have roadside stands, and then there's something called CSAs, Community Supported Agriculture, where people will actually pay a fee up front in the spring, and then they get a delivery every week of the produce that the farmer has grown. And then there's also an outlet for our farmers through institutional use. So whether it's farm to school, where the farmers, we're working on that at Salt Lake County to try to connect them with the school district nutrition directors, or other institutional use.
Great. Let's talk about some of those programs when we come back from this commercial break. Hold your thought, Jim. We'll start with you. We'll be right back with the county seat in just a second.
You go through the day-to-day repeating what you did yesterday. Don't you wish you could access that piece of your life that's missing? Find the beauty, serenity, family fun, or anything else that's missing from your life in the Cedar City, Bryan Head area. Gain access to your adventure, whether it's camping, hiking, the arts, festivals, or just a getaway. Visit cedarcityayl.com for details on all the adventures that you can access in scenic southern Utah.
I lived in Phoenix and then down in Orange County in California, and I met a small town girl and she brought me home. Just the smaller community that makes you feel like when you go somewhere you know everybody. You know, the sporting programs, the dance events, all these kinds of things, you run into people you know and that care about you and your family. And that makes it just a wonderful place to have little ones like this.
Isn't it time you found the balance you've been looking for? Uinta County, Utah. Planning your next conference or corporate event? The Davis Conference Center offers 70,000 square feet of flexible meeting and exhibit space, plus high-tech audio-visual services that will make your event a success. Whether you're planning a training, meeting, company retreat, wedding, or large convention, let the staff at the Davis Conference Center help you arrange your next event. Located east of I-15 in Layton, call 801-416-8888 or visit davisconferencecenter.com today.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. you belong in Kanab.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking today about urban farming, and programs are a big part of it. And Jim, you were about ready to talk to us about a program.
Yeah, you know, we talked a lot of what we've described today are, you know, growing food locally, but also the ancillary benefit is that you get different populations involved in that. The refugees, for instance, the farm to school, where we involve kids into understanding how food is grown. But we also have a very productive program in our jail horticulture program.
Jail horticulture.
Horticulture program.
That's a tough one to say.
The prisoners at the Salt Lake County Jail have in the past, in a mild effort, grown produce, and they've had this little farmer's market soda on site. But we've kind of expanded that. I know this year in our budget we made available several $100,000 to develop a much larger area.
I'm thinking of the Great Escape movie with Steve McQueen and all the guys out there.
These guys actually work really hard to get permission to take the educational training and program. Only 85 prisoners are allowed the time to do it, and they do everything from prepping the beds to starting from seed, growing, maintaining. It's all organic, so they're out there squashing the squash bugs, literally. And then they're harvesting, they're preparing it after harvest, and then they come down to the downtown farmers market and sell. And so they're getting this great education about growing. It's basically a condensed master gardener program is what they take, but then they're also learning customer service skills, and they're learning about counting change and seeing it through to the very end.
And they're working. They're not just sitting in a jail cell watching TV. You know.
Our program with the jail and with the district attorney in the courts, they're looking at a follow-up program, about a program that maybe we could participate with some of the people that come out of the jail and help provide them with a job on the other side with the training that they have.
Okay, there's one other question that comes up, and it's a title that just asks as many questions as it answers, and that's the Environmental Health Sustainability Garden.
Yes.
What the heck is that?
Well, the Environmental Health Department is a subsection of the County Department of Health. And they decided that they wanted to do something other than grow grass around their building. So they started with a few raised beds, and then from there, 3/4 of the building now is growing produce rather than just watering lawns. And they've done this in partnership with Parkside Elementary, which is an elementary school in Murray. And the kids come out and they learn about growing, they learn about harvesting, and their teachers have taken this into their math and their science. The kids love it. They don't even care if it's a rainy day. They walk to the garden, which is almost a half a mile from their school. They don't care. They want that field trip, and they want to come to the Environmental Health Building and learn more about food.
I think along with the prison program and this program that Julie's talking about with schools, there's just something healing and wholesome about getting your hands dirty, getting your hands in the soil and growing things. It's very rewarding.
You know, if you do a community garden, to me that sounds like a bunch of neighbors get together and you kind of all chip in and do stuff. You know, do they portion it off and say, okay, well, this row is yours?
Yes, they do, and the residents actually pay a small fee. The one thing I want to tell you that's come out of the community garden program that is so beneficial is that the neighbors say, in many ways, growing the food is secondary to the community that they've been able to build. You have, in some cases, elderly people next to people with tattoos and body piercings, and they've looked at each other with distrust before, and now they're excited to know each other, to have relationship, and the food is secondary to it.
I appreciate you focusing on this issue, and it also, I think, drives home the fact that in local governments you can get things done and you can do it quickly. Just like, you know, you plant the seed in the spring and you harvest it. You know, we can do things that quickly. Where on the federal level, I'm afraid to say, it may take a lifetime to do the same thing. But I'm very pleased with this. Thank you.
Well, excellent. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back with more of our conversation on urban gardening and urban farming here on the county seat. This is a good time to tell your friends to click in, tune in, and watch the rest of the program.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah County? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
Why is it that environmental protection and economic development are often placed at odds with each other? In Duchesne County, they have both. Here, modern industry and resource development go hand in hand with some of the most pristine wilderness in the western United States. A strong economy balanced with a lifestyle of exploration and discovery. But don't take my word for it. Go visit them. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
Color, it's something that can be seen. But have you ever wanted to reach out and touch it? Experience it. In San Juan County, Utah, color comes to life like nowhere else on earth. Color can be more than an abstract. Color can be your gateway to a new world. Visit San Juan County and explore the past, present, and future in a way that you've only dreamed of. San Juan County. Color your experience.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're talking today about urban farming, and we had been discussing some of the venues where you'll find locally grown produce. And Jim had an important one to add to it.
Well, and if you look at, is there a market out there and can people make a living growing this in the urban area? One very healthy market is that of restaurants and local stores like Reams and Harmon's and others, where there's a premium placed upon locally grown food. They advertise it as such, and restaurants will say, fresh from the garden, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a very important part of, I think, of the new market for this.
Let's talk about how people can go from having an interest to being a participant.
Okay. Well, actually, we've held one open house, as Jim mentioned, back in 2010. We're holding another one, actually in just a couple of days in November. And we are inviting the public to come and just share their observations. They can also do that on our website if they can't get to that meeting. And it's about, what do you think about commercial farming? Are you interested in participating? What size of a parcel would you be looking for? Here's what the county has available. This is when it's going to come up for lease. So we're just kind of opening up the dialogue. We're also talking about community gardens. We'll have a map that shows where all the community gardens are in the Salt Lake Valley. And then if people are interested in adding one in their neighborhood and there's not one there, they can look at certain parcels and we can see if we can make a fit there. So those are some of the ways that we're talking to the public and inviting them to give us input so that they can participate.
What does your department bring to the table?
We have a couple of programs that my favorite is Utah's Own, because we help promote the idea of buying local, supporting local companies, whether they're farmers and ranchers or people that make food products, value-added products. It's interesting that we have several companies that started with a little acreage in their backyard, and now they're making jam and selling it in various retail outlets. And it's just a great program where we provide opportunities for networking, training, and a branding of that product, no matter where they sell it.
There's all types of things you can do. I mean, if you look at an urban area, look at how you use your parks or your golf courses. Tell us a little about the golf course growing that we're doing.
Well, we have one area on a golf course, and we've been talking to a farmer about actually putting in an orchard there, and we haven't quite come to resolution on that, but we think we will shortly. And that's just a corner of a golf course that's not really used, and it would be a great site for putting in an orchard, that's something that would have a long-term investment.
I can see you golfing into the rough with the Titleist 3 and golfing out with the Peach 1.
Right. You know, let me add too, just real quickly. As we developed this program, we sent out feelers to our cities within the county and said, look, you know, here's an idea we have, here's what we're doing. If it wouldn't hurt for you to look at your surplus land and contribute it to this greater effort. Salt Lake City stepped forward 200 acres or more out by Salt Lake Airport, the one that catches fire every other year. And they said, you know, we're holding this for a future sewer plant, but that's 10, 15 years down the road. You're welcome to use this. And we developed that into, with the assistance of Utah State University, into a safflower farm where we're using that for biofuel, eventually to be used in the cars at the airport and the vehicles at the airport. Not food stuff, but certainly productive. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to take another commercial break because this is commercial television. We'll come right back and we'll have our closing thoughts and arguments on this topic. We'll be back with the county seat in just a second.
Let's be honest, you don't know much about Beaver County. Well, let me tell you about it. It's the birthplace of outlaw Butch Cassidy and adventurer Philo T. Farnsworth. Some of the best skiing in Utah is at Eagle Point. You've got camping, Canyon Breeze Golf Course, Crusher and the Tushers, Beaver Territorial Courthouse, snowmobiling, renewable energy, Pioneer Car Show, Squeaky Cheese, Ghost Towns to explore, best water in the country, Paiute ATV trails, Old Frisco Kilns, horse racing, hunting, fishing, and it's a good place to live. Beaver County, mountains of fun. I could tell you more, but why don't you come and see it for yourself?
The Bear Lake Valley is a beautiful, rural, historical, and recreational paradise. The changing of the season makes now a great time to come our way to see the warm colors of fall in contrast with the cool blues of Bear Lake. Visit us in the Bear Lake Valley. Come for the ride, stay for the adventure.
A powder day in the trees, a morning of crisp air and blue skies, a winter destination in your own backyard. Tooele County is all of them in one. It's time to experience a new adventure you never knew you were missing. It's time to find out what's just over the mountain. Tooele County, Utah. The Wasatch Front is your home. Tooele is your backyard.
It's me, honey. My key's not working. Can you let me in?
Did you get your whooping cough booster shot?
No, I forgot. I'll get it tomorrow.
Then that's when you can come in.
What?
Whooping cough can cause permanent disability in our baby. We're not taking that chance.
I know, but
Your dinner's on the porch.
Help us stop whooping cough. Visit us online to find out where you and your family can get vaccinated.
Welcome back to the county seat. We've been talking about urban farming, and during the break, we actually have been trying to figure out what to squeeze in this last 5 minutes, because there's really more to talk about than we've got time. But I think one important one that we should pick up on is your refugee farming program, because this one has an immediate emotional appeal to people when they hear about it. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Well, our refugee farming program is a partnership with the International Rescue Committee, the IRC, and they actually coordinate it on county land. We did start the program, but after 3 years it was so successful that we spun it off to a nonprofit. And so they are coordinating on about 2.5, 3 acres. They have community gardens on a portion of it, and then they have quarter-acre parcels where a refugee community will work together to grow crops, and then they sell that at a farm stand just for the refugees. And they've done extremely well this year. They have probably 40 individual plots, and they have 20 households that they're providing food for them, and they're also providing money, you know, because they're being able to sell that product, and it provides them with funding.
So I guess the next step in that is that if this were to be successful, then wouldn't they fall in line for the state's cottage program?
Absolutely. If they want to create or make a value-added product they can sell in grocery stores or in ethnic stores, they can obtain a Utah Food Cottage license, have their kitchen inspected by the proper people there at the Department of Ag that can help them. Utah's Own can help them in marketing those products, but we're very anxious to try and help the refugee garden.
And to be
project.
clear, you don't have to have a great big commercial kitchen. It's just the drain's got to drain into the sewer, and the water's, I mean, it's just
clean
some basic
kitchen,
thing.
animal-free, be able to produce that product in a safe way, and have that inspected, and then receive the license, and they can produce that product.
You know, just quickly, one of the charms of this refugee gardening program is the fact that you have refugees coming from different countries all over the world seeking America for their answer. And you see them out there not speaking the same language necessarily, but they all understand farming. And what we've done is, I mean, it's just a delight to go out there and see the activity and the different cultures being represented. But also, a part of that program is that we use that as an opportunity to provide some microeconomic training where we can teach them how to add a value to that and how to make money doing what they're doing. And that has been relatively successful, and also training in terms if you want to open a catering business or an ethnic cafe or something, merging that into something more than just, you know, growing tomatoes in your backyard.
I would be most curious to see what it is they grow, because maybe they brought some interesting foods with them.
They certainly do. And it's not tomatoes. Everybody grows tomatoes, so there's no market for that.
Well, and there's a mix. They do some traditional crops that we have, but they've also brought some crops that we are not familiar with.
First call, what do they do?
Well, they can go to our website, our Salt Lake County website, Urban Farming. Just go to the Salt Lake County website and click on Urban Farming, and you can find out more information about the community garden program, the urban farming, the commercial farming, and how they can participate in that. If they're already growing and they're looking for ways to distribute their food, we have the list of the farmers markets. We know how to connect them with CSA Utah, and we'd love to get them to participate in our Farm to School program, where we're trying to link farmers to school districts and the food that they're producing for kids.
Well, so the kids can actually see the food being grown? Is that part of the idea?
Well, what it is so the kids get the idea of where their food comes from. We have farm field days at schools, so they get to talk to farmers, they get to try different fruits and vegetables, and we just have a great time educating kids about food that's not processed.
We have more refugees than we have land available right now, so we have to find more land and develop that and put it out there. There's a great demand for this.
There you go. If you got a vacant acre, let them know. They'll take it into the program. Last comments?
Yes, if they have questions about how the Department of Ag can help them, go to ag.utah.gov. There's also an icon for Utah's Own at that spot. We'd invite you to come to the website.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us and taking your time to share this. Thank you for tuning in to the County Seat. We appreciate your participation, and we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can look at all of our programs for the past 4 years and stay up to date on what's happening. Remember, local government is where your life happens. You need to be part of that solution. Thank you. We'll see you next week on the County Seat. If you like this video, then we invite you to subscribe to our channel, The County Seat. You can do that here. And we invite you to share with your friends. We also invite you to get all the latest up-to-date information by following us on our social media channels. And if all else fails, make sure that you watch The County Seat Sunday morning at 8:30 right here on ABC4 Utah.